Hello, I'm Dr. Archer Crosley, and welcome to Real World Pediatrics. So, today I'm going to talk about healthcare and why it's so expensive. Well, in a nutshell, it's expensive because of the big boys. There's just too much greed in healthcare today. Now, there is no system that can hold up under greed, no system at all. Now, we don't live in a world like we did in the old days, where your hospital was owned and run by nuns or religious organizations. That went away in the 1970s. Now, hospitals are owned by big corporations that are nationwide. They are generally populated at the higher levels by business school graduates who hail from Wharton, Stanford, or Harvard. Now, these people have been indoctrinated into believing that they are the best and the brightest. And because they have been indoctrinated into believing that they are the best, they believe they're entitled to vast sums of money. And that's why you can see a hospital chain CEO making $20 to $40 million a year. And that's just the CEO. That doesn't include his lieutenants or other significant board members. Now, these big hospital corporations are traded publicly. And when you trade something publicly, people expect a return on their dollar. Now, these shareholders make money when the stock price rises. And if major shareholders don't make money, they get upset. And so they put pressure on leadership of the corporation. That means that hospitals have to cut down on services in order to improve the bottom line. Or they have to extract more money from the government in order to improve the bottom line. Now, this is another layer of greed placed upon healthcare. It's called shareholder greed. Now, these elements didn't exist as much back in the 1950s and 60s. CEO greed and shareholder greed suck too much money out of the healthcare system. Now, this doesn't go on solely in the hospital industry. It also goes on in the pharmacy industry, too. We don't live in a world anymore where you have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of independent pharmacies. In 1970, you had about 50,000 independent pharmacies in the United States. In 2024, you had about 19,000 independent pharmacies. That's a decrease of 31,000 independent pharmacies. Now, these days, you have big business running pharmacies under the names of CVS and Walgreens. It goes beyond that. We now have companies that exist solely to supply pharmaceuticals to pharmacies. These companies are called PBMs, or pharmacy benefit managers. That's another layer of greed upon healthcare. The same layers of CEO greed and shareholder greed that exist in the hospital business also exist in the pharmacy business. It even exists in the pharmacy benefit manager business. There isn't a phase of healthcare that isn't affected by this greed. Even big pharma suffers from layers of greed. In the old days, you had lots and lots of independent pharmaceutical companies. On any given day, in my office, I could get detailed 5 or 6 times by different pharmaceutical reps. That doesn't exist anymore. Since 1970, the number of major pharmaceutical firms has gone from 60 to about 10. You now have big conglomerates that control everything. They don't want to waste money detailing doctors on new medicines, and they don't need to because the competition is less. With less competition, prices go up as quality goes down. That's the way it is. The primary goal of healthcare isn't to provide service to you anymore. It's to fatten the profits of the corporation so that the shareholders and the CEO can make a bonanza in the stock market when the company price rises. That's why they restrict your medicines. That's why they deny your x-ray and procedure requests. That's why your copays are high. That's why your deductibles are high. Of course, these restrictions are all spun within the veneer of evidence-based medicine and robust statistical studies showing us that you, not them, were the problem by overutilizing services. Ha, ha, ha. That's so funny, I forgot to laugh. You see, healthcare is not about you anymore. It's about them. It's about Wall Street. It's about the phony legacy of the CEO who wants to be a billionaire so that he can plaster his name on buildings so that he can be seen as the big philanthropist. Or perhaps the CEO wants to own a sports team or buy an expensive yacht. It's about him, not you. You come last. And that's not a good deal for you. Here's a sampling of some compensation packages in the hospital industry. Andrew Whitty, United Healthcare Group, $23 million a year. Samuel Hazen, HCA Healthcare, $21 million a year. Saum Sutaria, MD, Tenet Healthcare, $18 million a year. Greg A. Adams with Kaiser Permanente, $17 million a year. Mark Miller of Universal Health Services, $14 million a year. Now these are the complete pay packages when you include stock options and such. Under pharmacy, Timothy Wentworth of Walgreens, $13 million a year. J. David Joyner, CVS, $17 million a year. Patrick Conway of Optum, $4 million a year. That's pretty heavy coin, baby. Thank you.